back to Designed and Delivered for Destiny. I'm your host, Nicole Cherie. I'm a wife, author, life coach, business owner, and speaker. I was a mental health therapist for over 10 years, and now I want to bring the conversations from my office and bring it to you wherever you are. Each episode, we're going to discuss various topics related to your design, your deliverance, or your destiny. I'm so glad you're taking time out of your busy schedule to tune in. Let's jump on in. Now, I was thinking about this question quite a bit, and I just thought, well, let me just see what people think. Is 2024 going to be your best year yet, or are you expecting it to be a continuation of what's already been? And I think you might say your best year yet, but this is kind of somewhat of a trick question, so I'm hoping you would have said both. Now, why? Because your 2024, without a shadow of a doubt, will continue with where you left off in 2023. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off pretty early in this segment and just say there is no magical switch that transforms anything about your life when the clock strikes 12:01. And typically, you know this, by the end of the first week, the newness of your life, the newness of the year, it begins to wear off, and what is programmed into you already will take over. So, are you actually getting a fresh start every year? Not necessarily, but here comes the good news, which is that that's not a bad thing. Because your fresh start begins whenever you make the decision to start over. And that could be next week, it could be later today, it could be February of next year. Your new beginning is not confined to one day per year. You literally can choose to have a new beginning in any area of your life within the next hour. And why am I telling you this? Well, because I think we have to shift our expectations of what a new year will bring. And instead of putting our hope in the new year as our new beginning, we begin to value what it truly means to live another day and appreciate what the day can bring you. If you think about it, a year is just a bunch of days that have been put together to help us navigate the natural times and seasons. On the other hand, a day is a new opportunity whereby you can testify that God still has purpose for your life because His breath is still flowing through you. Each day, you have an opportunity to make decisions that can completely change your life, your family's life, for you to start over, to be renewed, to be strengthened, for you to be elevated. And each of those days will add up 365 times to become a year. So if you think about it, there is something very powerful about a day. Now, I definitely agree with celebrating the new year because 365 days in this life comes with a lot of ups and downs, twists and turns. So it's important that we take the time to celebrate that we are all transitioning to another year because so many people did not make it until the end and will not cross over with us. But would you agree that each day deserves the same amount of celebration? So before we talk about preparing for 2024, I think it's important for you to just ask yourself, have you underestimated or devalued the power of a day? Do you see it as a new beginning every time you wake up, or do you see it as a continuation of something that you just want to get through? Do you wake up as excited as you are on January 1st, every day of your life? You know, I woke up this morning and there wasn't much excitement. I definitely had a deep sense of gratitude that God kept me throughout the night. And He allowed me to wake up another day. And so I always try to wake up and just thank Him for that before I get out of bed. But there was no sense of excitement, right? So I'm not saying that every morning we need to just pop up and just, wow, but maybe we can appreciate our day differently than what we have in the past. I think about how Jesus told the disciples to pray to God the Father and ask for our daily bread. And you can't help but wonder, why not just ask for an abundance so that bread would be the last thing you have to think about in the future, right? God is a God of abundance, right? But why did He say daily bread? Why did He have the Israelites to just take enough manna for the day as opposed to enough to keep them so that they can focus their time on other things each day. There must be something spiritual. There must be something powerful about a day that we are missing. A day it seems so insignificant, right? It blows by and here comes tomorrow. But to God, our decisions each day is one of the greatest determinants of our trust, our faith, and our obedience. Every single day, we are measured by those three things: trust, faith, and obedience. And this isn't a seasonal evaluation. He wants to know if you understand the value and the gift of a day, because if you don't, which many of us are still learning, but if you don't, it's possible that you're missing the point of this life. This understanding is very important, because before you begin to prepare for your 2024, before your goals are based on the month or the quarters, before your mind begins to go into September of next year, can you take a minute and reflect on the value of a day? So let's talk about, though, what your process is like to prepare for next year. I'm assuming that you have goals or you're in the process of putting them together. Do you tend to take time to review your goals for this current year and reflect on the ones that were met, the ones that were not? This is something that my husband and I do at the end of every year. And to be honest, I'm kind of starting to deal with a little bit of goal fatigue, which is ironic because I generally love goals. But when you've been making goals for the last 15 years and the process is the same, you start to experience some goal fatigue. As much as I love a plan, I find myself holding on to my plans much more loosely in this season of my life. But this is where maybe you can help me. Is there a cure for goal fatigue? I can't imagine taking a whole year off without making any goals. I truly know the value and power of having a vision, making it plain, and staying focused on the plan. I know that if I didn't write down my goals for an entire year and didn't take time to envision them, then my year is just going to be a waste, and I'll end the year with disappointment and self-loathing. So setting goals are important, right? Setting goals can be great, but I want you to understand what's happening when you're setting those goals. What happens is you're putting your subconscious mind on autopilot. When you write those goals and you begin to envision them, your brain will do everything it can to ensure that those goals are met. So this is how we see things manifest in our lives that we've dreamed of, hoped for, and imagined. It's a skill. It's a God-given gift that he wants us to make use of. And, when I say autopilot, I don't mean that you don't have to think, act, or work hard. But what I am saying is that your brain will be working with you so that you can move towards those goals. Now, obviously, if you have some unhealthy beliefs about your ability to accomplish your goals, or whether you're even worthy of accomplishing those goals, then those beliefs will battle your autopilot mechanism. And it's a 50-50 chance, maybe even less, that you're going to meet those goals unless you address those unhealthy beliefs. And you can check out some of my previous episodes where I talk about the value and the power and the steps to address those unhealthy beliefs. But can I throw an end of the year curveball into all of this? Okay, because here's the part that I think we need to consider. Since we know goal setting puts you on autopilot in many ways, are you on autopilot for the right things? And what do I mean? Well, these goals, the dreams that you're trying to manifest, whose will does it align with? Your own or God's? What do I mean? Well, when you sat down to write your goals and make that vision board, how much time did you spend searching God's mind versus your own heart? And yeah, I know you may be thinking, but God says he will give me the desires of my heart. And so these goals, that's what that represents. Yes, true. But I want to challenge you to consider that your days and the time that you're going to be given over the next year, it's not just given to you for you to fulfill the desires of your heart. You're on God's time every day. So our goals, our purpose is supposed to align with his will for your life. Think about it. If your goals are what's driving you and you're the one that set the goals based on your will, then you're the one that's in control of your life the entire year and ultimately your destiny. Can you see why that's problematic? Simply by creating a to-do without consulting God, you have put yourself in the driver's seat of your life. You're now basically dictating the purpose of your days. Okay, Nicole, so what? Everybody does that. It's something that's just an inspirational thing that we do, but we know that God is still in control. Okay, yeah, I hear you. But keep in mind that your brain doesn't know it's just inspiration. Your brain is going to treat it as if it must happen. Taking things into your hands in this way will even cause you to subconsciously push God's plans to the side, because you've been programmed since the month of December that you have to accomplish these specific things, and that is what takes priority. I really don't know if you understand the power of your mind. But okay, let's just say that's what you choose to do. Then let me ask you, are you okay with being responsible for ensuring that everything you desire comes to pass? You'll be responsible for protecting whatever new things you birth, you buy, or you create. You're responsible for sustaining the financial increase, navigating all the followers, vindicating yourself against the lies, keeping yourself strong and in good health. That is what you're signing up for when you base your goals on your will and not God's. And I know you're thinking, but that's what we all do. If or when a problem arises, that's when you'll consult God for support, for healing, for deliverance, to, all those things. Or you might be that person that's considering, well, I'm going to just make my list. And then right after, I'm going to pray to God and just ask for him to bless it, right? So he's a part of my process. So it's like you're not excluding God completely, right? These are the mind games that we play. I want to challenge you to consider holding off on setting your goals until you've taken some time to consult God. And what do I mean by that? It's not this thing where you put this idea in your head and then ask God, hey, what do you think? And if you don't get this funny feeling, then that means he approves. No, it doesn't work that way. Take some time to really fast, pray, and meditate on how God wants you to spend your days. For you to do things God's way, it requires you to shift your approach. I'm going to say something really extreme, but hear me out. And before I say what I'm going to say, let me first go ahead and throw this question out there that I think we have to kind of make ourselves answer from time to time. How much of your life do you actually think you're controlling? And what kind of results have you gotten over the years when you've done things your way? As you're reflecting on that question, keep in mind that external success, that's not the main way to determine success. I'm talking about the success that is based on internal things that look like having real peace. And yeah, there is a fake version of peace. It's called suppression. Internal things like joy and confidence and stability, contentment on a consistent basis. Can you say that your external success is a reflection of the internal? If so, by all means, please continue with what you're doing, because it sounds like you found a way to remain in control and still have what generally only comes from the Lord. But if this is not your testimony, but it is what you desire, can we talk about what is required for you to get there? What is required is that you have to make a decision that God's way and his thoughts are better than your own, a decision that he can be trusted with your life no matter what the circumstances may or may not be, that God in control, even if it's only 1% of the time, is better than you being in control 100% of the time. You kind of have to get to the point where you decide that he is the only way. And last but not least, you have to be willing to surrender. And for that to happen, here's where we get to the ultimate decision. And it's extreme, y'all. It's extreme. You ready? Trusting God's plan requires for you to lose your mind. Now, I'm not saying go mad, but what I am saying is that you really have to let go of your way of thinking and analyzing things. I'm not saying to stop thinking altogether or using your brain or common sense. I'm saying that your thoughts cannot be the main voice inside your head. I'm saying that you have to be willing to empty yourself of what you think things should be, how you think it should go, and what you want things to look like so that you can be filled with His thoughts and His plan. You have to lose your mind. God does not force His thoughts on you. It's something that you have to willingly embrace and accept. His voice is not going to get really loud until all the other voices are drained out. No, you have to silence the other voices, lose them, so that the one that will get you that internal and external success can take the lead. This is the call and the challenge of every believer. This is the answer for every believer. I believe it's the solution to what your heart is seeking. And it's so much easier said than done, but it's the greatest gift you can give yourself this year, to lose your mind and take on the mind of Christ. So I'm all about removing barriers so that you can thrive and have fulfillment in every area of your life. So let's talk a little bit about what stopped you from surrendering completely and taking your hands off the driver's seat of your life. Not just for major decisions, but in every area of your life. Because I believe you love God. You want to fulfill His purpose and His will, but perhaps you fear the unknown. Could it be that you want to fulfill His will, but you just need some control? Maybe you want to fulfill it, but there's just so many cares in your life to risk things not working out. Someone has to pay the bills. How about this one? You want to fulfill God's will, but your spouse isn't on the same page with you, or that health challenge keeps coming up. The list can go on and on as to why we continue to miss opportunities to be in God's perfect will, and we just remain in an acceptable place that's just good enough where God will let us slide by. The problem with this is that the things that you expect from God will only come when you're in His perfect will, not when you're just sliding by. Now, I can be a little too optimistic at times because I want to believe that most people desire to be in God's will. But then I look at this world and it's apparent that many people are comfortable and content with where they are. And a lot of people just don't care. What's your reason? The answer to that question will reveal to you that you believe you're better with managing that specific area of your life than God is, which, by the way, is pride and also maybe even fear. But the great thing about revelation is that when you become aware, you now have the opportunity to go deeper in your relationship, your intimacy with your Heavenly Father. There's an opportunity for you to understand Him better, to see Him work things out in your life in a new way. And this is beautiful because that's exactly what He wants. He wants you to see Him and to know all that He's capable and desiring to do for you if you would just fully depend and allow Him to be Lord. You were not born to be a lukewarm Christian. One thing that's difficult to accept is that the depth of our relationship with God, it's really up to us. It's not up to Him. He has made Himself readily available to be pursued, sought after, and connected to in the same way to each and every one of us. We low-key want Him to do all the work. But not even you would want to be in that kind of relationship where one person just puts forth no effort. But let's just go down that rabbit hole for a second and see what it would look like if He were to do more. Let's say He's willing. What act would God need to do in your life for you to surrender to Him 100% and leave behind your need for control? What is that one action step for you? Is it fix something in your life, financial increase, open a door, heal you or someone you love? Like, what would convince you to give your full self to Him? Have you chosen your thing? Okay, so now that you've thought about it, you now know the price for your trust. And this is what God knows you are holding against Him. And although you know that God will supply every one of your needs and He wants to give you the desires of your heart because He loves you more than you realize, He doesn't want your love towards Him to be conditional. So He often won't give you that very thing until it matters less than your relationship with Him. Your 2024, it could be the best year of your life with God or a continuation of what's already been. Don't wait until you have no other choice and you're feeling like you're actually about to lose your mind before you say, I surrender. Remember, it's about the day, not the year. Start now, not tomorrow. What are some of the steps that you can take to ensure you are following God's plan and not your own? You can pray and fast before you start writing your goals. Fasting really helps you to clear out all the noise and distractions so that you can hear more clearly. Reflect on what God has already been doing in your life. Look for patterns, both positive and negative. Write down the vision. But consider that there are some things that the Holy Spirit may have shown you that perhaps you began to imagine. Perhaps it just popped into your mind during prayer. Those images and ideas can help you create a vision and form your goals that align with God's will. Now, you don't want to do this a few days before the new year. You want to take some time to write things down and then be able to go back and, as you take more time to pray and fast and just seek His leading, let all of these things marinate. Give yourself time to be able to go back and make changes if you need to. Once you are clear on your vision and goals, get started. The new year starts when the new vision comes. Starting right away shows God that you understand the value of a day. God doesn't expect you to always get it right. He knows you will miss the mark. You're going to make mistakes. You may get off course, but He will be there to help you throughout the process. So do 2024 with and for God. Alrighty, you know what time it is. This is the time where we get to discuss a phrase, pattern, or belief that has been a hindrance to many in the culture. And if we eradicate it, it would improve your life, family, and the community.
It's chain breaking time.
The behavior pattern that we are breaking this week is putting yourself last on your Christmas list. Now, I know that doing things for yourself is not at the top of your list. It's probably not even on your list. And yes, the season is not about gifts. It's always better to give than to receive. But what I'm talking about isn't necessarily about gifts, because even when you are gifting something to someone, you're not doing that just because. You are giving them that gift because it brings them joy and it adds something to them that they didn't previously have. So that is what we are talking about. Are you taking time to do something for you that you know will bring you joy and add something of value, of substance to your life? And this is so important because we love others as we love ourselves. And it's likely been a long year for you. So your tank, it might be close to empty. But please hear me. You cannot end this year on an empty tank because you have a race to run on day 1 of 2024. So it's very important that you put something on your Christmas list that will ensure that you are being filled with joy, strength, and the grace that you need for the next year of your life. That is your responsibility, no one else's. So don't neglect yourself this holiday season. It's time for you to fill up. Let me close with a final word of encouragement. This is the day. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in it. God loves you so much that He cares about every day of your life. You were created to be loved, and your destiny is far more glorious than you can imagine. Your value is not determined by what you accomplish in a 365-day calendar. You have a purpose that far exceeds time. It's eternal. I see you walking with God in deeper and more intimate ways and experiencing what it truly means to go a full year with God. Until next time, shalom.